Hiya! Domestic machine and leather, do they go together? Yes, if you know how to set your machine and what accessories to use to get the most out of your machine. Let me show you in this video. Now we're gonna start from the needle. I inserted my needle already. It's a special needle. It's for leather. So when you're gonna prepare yourself to make leather light garments on your domestic, please buy the proper leather needle. They're coming in different sizes. Mine is size 100, which makes it quite thick. Then you can buy size 90, which is size down, meaning gonna be thinner needle. And then you're gonna have 110, which is size up. This thicknesses are okay, good enough for the leather, soft leathers, which we're gonna use in a case of domestic machine. Also, why is important that needs to be a leather needle? Leather needle on the end, we've got a knife shape ending. It's not round or ballpoint like the other needles. It literally got a knife. I hope you can see it on my video here. And that cuts leather through nicely and makes machine move smooth. So first we would insert the needle. Next, we're gonna use a Teflon Foot, which looks like that. You can get them as a universal for every domestic, or from the specific brand you have your machine. From the specific brand, they tend to be better. Universal one can be a bit off here and there, but I'm always buying universal. So we're gonna attach that. In my case, in my machine, I'm just dropping the shaft and it clicks the foot in a position, and foot is already attached. I already thread my machine, and what I will pay attention now to is few things. First, the stitch length. I would recommend between 3 and 4. That depends on every machine, how the machine deals with passing on leather. Each machine is different, and you have to find that nice point in your machine, because although it says 3 or 4, which indicates stitch length, meaning that would be 3 millimeters, that would be 4 millimeters. Not every machine actually delivers exactly the size, the length of the stitch. Another thing we're gonna pay attention after threading machine, where is our tension? In my machine, it sits nicely in a 6, but sometimes in other machines the tension plates, which they inside over there, get very quite looser, and it would loop on the bottom of your work. Then you would adjust the tension here to the stronger tension between the plates, which is actually the higher number, the tighter it is, yeah? So you have to run your machine on a scrap of leather first to see what exact tension you need, what exact stitch length you need. In my case, I have to also put on the A, which is straight stitch. I will bring now up the bottom thread. So I'm threading my needle, lifting the foot, rotating my hand wheel towards me, bringing completely needle down, to bring up the bottom thread. That's what I have to do in my machine. This is a lower range machine. It's still intermediate, but it's lower range, so doesn't have a lots of perks which the more expensive models got. Here, we're just focusing on if the domestic machine is able to cope with leather. And that's what we're gonna check now on this Teflon Foot. How it's coping with leather, if it's doing a nice job. So let's start. For this exercise, I will use Napa leather again. It's the same leather I use in my video tutorial about best 8 seams in leather garment construction. It's a nice leather to work with and is the nicest to use in garments. Also, it's not that thick, it's just millimeter thick. But what's important, that is not rigid. If that leather would be rigid, it wouldn't be the same way to work on with domestic machine. So I chosen soft one to show you how the machine copes with leather that's soft. So I'm aligning my leather normal centimeter seam allowance on my stitch plate. I do have markings, so I exactly know where is centimeter is on that line. I'm gonna position my leather underneath the foot, drop the foot, and I'm gonna hold my threads for the few stitches to make sure that it's not gonna tangle on the bottom of the work, which sometimes does, and then it blocks the machine. And that's the most common problem with domestic. If you don't hold the thread at the beginning of your work, the machine gonna tangle on the bottom of your work and might break the needle, might stop machine to work altogether. So let's do first few stitches. Now I can let go the threads. Let's reinforce. Yeah, it is working, but I don't like sound of it. It feels like machine is a bit struggling, although still is pulling the leather. Nice stitching. And only thing I can tell you now, it feels for me as machine struggles. It's quite hard. It's like you can feel it. It's struggling. It's still doing it, and also I can see it's stretching the leather. I'm already got that much of the top layer of the leather against the bottom. Yeah, because my machine is quite simple. In the more sophisticated machines, on the back of your machine, you're gonna have adjustment of the feeding dogs, and then you would lift it up. That might have how the machine is proceeding. The same you might have in the top some adjustment of the presser foot. I don't have all this nice things, so I have to work on what I have. So it is sewing, but it feels like it's struggling, and I can feel that it's stretched about 7 millimeters. You can prevent that by fusing tape, ironing fusing tape to it, and stabilize the leather. That leather is quite stretchy, but I used it exactly for that reason, to show you how the machine gonna struggle. So literally stretched about that much, all right, on this foot. So maybe that's where we're not happy with the foot. Also, you could stabilize that, but that I'm gonna record another videos about what stabilizers you use, what fusing, when and how. This is just checking if what fit attachments are working the best with leather. So yeah, the stitch is tiny. It's 3 millimeters, which is good. It's keeping the leather together nicely. I'm using white thread for you to see on this tutorial how that works. Let's see how it's gonna cope with a few layers of leather. So we're gonna do the close seam top stitch to see how that foot gonna cope on a thicker layers of the same leather now. Yeah, it's going quite okay. Although the noise I really don't like, it doesn't sound healthy, I would say. Yeah, I wouldn't speed up either on that. We don't want to damage the machine. So yeah, it's stretched, yeah. Yeah, stretched and not really even leading. Alright, so that's our Teflon foot. It is okay, but I'm not impressed with work, how it comes out. Next foot I'm gonna use is a roller foot. It's a plastic transparent foot with metal roller. We're gonna attach the same way as we did previously. Clicks in. I'm gonna bring my bottom thread again by holding my top thread, bringing through, using my scissors to bring them both down. I want them both under my foot, as that foot is actually blocked here. Here is no opening, so I cannot pull it through here. But yeah. So now we set our foot. So here we go now. Place the leather work again under the foot. Let's hold the threads and start sewing. Let's see how that one copes. That one is much wider than the previous Teflon foot, and for me looks like it's exactly from the edge of the foot to the edge of my work, it's exactly centimeters. So if you made your pattern with a centimeter seam allowance, that would be your guide, meaning easy peasy. Yeah? One more thing, as you notice, I'm putting my work deeper under the foot. So I'm starting a bit like a centimeter in. The reason is that I really want my machine, because it's domestic, to grab the work, yeah? Otherwise, if I would start on the edge, might struggle and start pushing the leather. So I'm starting kind of like centimeter in. Now I'm gonna come back, meaning using my reverse stitch. And push it forward. It is struggling. It feels like it's too in. No, it's alright. It's alright. Let's do it then. I must say it feels smoother. It is much nicer to work with. Yeah, it feels quite like a butter sliding, and it doesn't stretch us that much. It did not stretch leather at all. The pieces are together in the same place. So yeah, that is quite satisfying. That foot makes much better work than the Teflon foot did. So yeah, let's clean the threads. I've got this obsession with cleaning threads. Sorry, that's me. I don't like not tidy work, so it's because of working in a high fashion. You rather have everything tidy, clean and beautiful. That's why it's made very clean and perfect. So yeah, I'm very satisfied how this foot works on that kind of leather. Now I'm gonna run the foot top stitching again on the all layers to see how it behaves. Only problem I have now with that foot, that if I want to run a top stitching properly, like let's say half foot 5 millimeters in, I cannot really guide nowhere. Like there is no reference point for me to go against it. And because luckily for me, over the 30 years I've got centimeters in my eye. I am not working on inches, sorry, I'm Eastern European, so yeah, no more centimeters for me in millimeters. Then yeah, I gonna go for my half centimeter by my eye. It's not working, it's not pulling. Hey, come on baby. No, it's not coping with a bigger layer of it. Yeah, it got problem with starting. Yeah, now it's okay. When it eventually grabs it, it goes. But now I can hear the same struggle on the previous foot. That machine is struggling. And now it's not even pushing. It's basically stitching in one place. So now it means that I need to pull my work. And if I pull my work, our work is gonna start stretching and struggling. So yeah, that's what it is. I'm gonna show you a little tip for, yeah, I was struggling really. Yeah. You see how in moment when I start helping it, it start doing the proper stitches I set machine for, then it starts struggling. So it looks like this layer is already too much for it. But really in leather making, in garments, I really hate it. This is not nice. I'm gonna show you a trick I'm using in leather garments when I'm top stitching like that. So let me stitch the seam again. It's not struggling when you're just joining the leather. So if you're gonna have a garment with a clean seams, just flat open, then it's good. It's good. It's good enough. So that's where I stitched my seam. What I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna trim it off one layer of this leather. I'm leaving like 4 millimeters of the other seam allowance. And now the longer seam allowance is covering all the seam. All right, so I have to turn upside down my work. So once again, the longer seam allowance covers the seam, the shorter one is inside. And now I hope my machine gonna be happier when we gonna run the top stitching. Yeah, goes much nicer. As I said, it's very difficult though to keep your exact line because there is no reference point on the foot, or I cannot see any markings on my plate. So that would be downside of that foot. It goes better on leather than the Teflon Foot. As I'm saying, we're trying this fit on my machine, which is a lower range of the sewing machines, domestic sewing machines. If you've got more expensive, can behave a bit better. different. Another thing to help yourself to slide better with a leather. Oh yeah, I was struggling here again. But you see, generally we've done a nice job. Yeah? After me trimming that extra seam allowance underneath, that eventually work better. So yeah, I would say that foot is much better than Teflon Foot. Now to the very big guys. Here I have very specialized, quite big walking foot attachment. This is also universal, so it doesn't say Janome or any other Singer or brother brand, but it fits them all. And as I said, if you're buying by the brand, it might be that it fits better to the machine. Maybe not many surprises how it works. This is very popular in quilting. People use it to make quilts, but it works amazing with leather. I checked before and I was very pleased, so I'm very happy to attach it now. Only downside is actually attaching this, because I have to unscrew all that attachment for my other feet. So I unscrewed it, and there is now only the feet shank with a screw. And what is important, I'm gonna take the thread for now out from the needle, not to get tangled. So now we're gonna attach the walking foot. I need to lower my needle, maybe first. I need to leave that attachment over here. That should rest on your needle. Yeah, like that. On your needle shaft here. Then you put screw back to the, in my case there is a black clamp which I'm trying to, so using screwdriver you're tightening your side screw here on the foot attachment here. So we attached the extension here for the, I don't know how to call it really, I don't know what it's called, sorry, English is my second language, so I will not maybe know all of the names of the little pieces. But yeah, we need to attach that hand extension which attaches to the needle, because that's gonna make the foot to walk. So as I managed to attach it nicely, we threading it again, because that foot got opening. I'm gonna lift the foot, place my thread underneath the foot, both them together. Now let's try our walking foot. I hope you're gonna see it nicely how it works. So now I can see again my markings on my stitch plate. So I'm doing centimeter seam allowance again, holding my threads when I start at the beginning of my work. Oh wow, that is fascinating. That works proper. That is really satisfying. It's not the foot you're gonna go fast again. Even on the instruction says go to slow, from slow to medium speed. But it's a really nice way to guide the leather. I'm quite pleased with it. It did not stretch leather. Leathers are meeting in the same place, so it did not stretch. It's the same. size of the other panel. So that's satisfying. I will try not to reduce my bulk yet, because I want to see how it copes with full seam there. Although I have to be honest, in my real leather work, when I do professional leather work, I always trim that inside seam, even when I'm working on my industrial leather machine. It's just thinner, nicer, and I don't know, I just got used to like that. I've been told like that at school and then in the industry, so yeah. Another good thing about that foot I'm noticing is that because it got so many layers, there is this plastic attachment, white plastic attachment, which is kind of like indicating exactly 5 millimeters if you're going against it, meaning having that plastic against the groove. So that's another good thing about that foot, that you can have your top stitching nice and even. Yeah, it's coping very nice. I'm really happy with that one. So that one even cope without the reduction of the seam underneath. Here we are, 3 different feet, 3 different results. In my professional opinion, the most satisfying is the walking foot. So if you're planning any work with a light leather, light suede, and a use of leather in your projects, then I'm highly recommending get yourself walking foot. Don't forget your leather needles and thicker thread, which I recommend is like size 30, 40, 70, 80, anything thicker than basically 120. I wouldn't go too thick though on the domestic machine, because then you might struggle and have a thread fraying. But that's my recommendation. I hope you like the video. If you really like it, please press that like button. If you really want to see it more, subscribe and press that notification button to know when I'm downloading new content. I hope you enjoy and hope to see you next time. Take care.